What would you do if you could see the end of your life right now? As an artist that wants to impact people, what would you do differently and what would you regret? Welcome to Art Mentor. My name is Sean, and today you're gonna learn about what are the most popular regrets of dying artists so that you don't have them. And if you're currently producing those regrets, then you can stop it because you definitely won't regret knowing this. Now, let me just hit you with a big fact that I bet that if you were an employee of your life, of the company of you, Inc., then you would definitely fire yourself as an employee. And let's think about this. A lot of you watching, you've got a job. And listen, you show up for that job on time, you do the tasks that you need to on time, you prioritize doing the things that that job requires of you, and you see that as something that is a necessity in your life. There's a culture surrounding that, and if you don't meet that culture, then you're gonna be let go, you're gonna be terminated, you're gonna have to look for another place. But here's the thing. What if you looked at yourself that same exact way? And what I mean by that is, why are you working so hard to make someone else's dreams come true and you're watching yours die? If you've never heard this, here's a really powerful quote that I heard a while ago, and it really changed my thought process on work, which is that your paycheck is the anesthesia for your dreams. And the first time I heard that, I was like, whoa, that's heavy. But think about it, really. You're trading all of your time for a paycheck. Do you need that money? Yes, absolutely. Should you quit your job tomorrow to go pursue art? No, don't do that, my friend. But my friend, what if you could revolutionize all of that? What if you put the same work and effort from what you're doing for somebody else into yourself? What if you valued yourself as much as you value your work? Because in this current day and age, man, we value industry so much at the expense of ourselves. Why are you prioritizing everything for somebody else's dream, but your dreams withering and dying, and you're making excuses, and you're telling yourself you don't have time, and you're telling yourself you don't have energy, and you're telling yourself that you're too tired? Why are you investing all of that time, all of those resources, those personal resources of yours, into that instead of to you? It's curious, isn't it? All too often we think about our financial well-being, but you will not think about your spiritual, emotional, and social well-being. That is where your artistry lies. And that's why it's worth it, isn't it? Now, I want to tell you a very common story, and it relates to me and how I almost killed my art in its infancy back when I was a kid. And because of this, I used to feel intense regret and shame over it. And I hope that you're not gonna do this too. Because when I was younger, when I was experiencing some stress, when I was experiencing some trauma, is I would seek escape from that. So I would run and I would just fill my belly with like loads of binge eating and like horrible food for me. And then I would also sit down for like hours and hours playing video games. And while I had a full belly and I had eyes that were delighted by everything that I saw and experienced, although I was filled in other ways, I was completely unfulfilled. Which leads into this question. What are you doing that actually focuses on what matters? That's going to bring about the change that you want, that's going to bring about the results that you want. And what are you focusing too much on? Now listen, I'm not trying to make a PSA about not having friends and not having family and not playing video games. No, friends, listen, I want you to enjoy life. I want you to enjoy people. I want you to enjoy your experiences. I want you to go places. I want you to play a game or watch a show every once in a while, okay? But here's a really hard question you have to ask yourself. What is the split on that? What's the percentage that you're doing that stuff? You're wasting your time on idolatries, things that actually aren't mattering to your life, aren't ever gonna make a difference. And what's the percentage of the time that you're actually working on what's meaningful for you? What's the percentage that you're actually working on your art? And what I want to correct on here is that whenever I say this, I think sometimes people take this too extreme. Like, I'm not telling you that you can't do that stuff and be an amazing artist and be successful at the same time. No, friend, what I'm going to say is this, is that you need to honestly take a look at this fact. In 5 years, you can change your life. In 5 years, that's all it will take for you to be completely out of your circumstances and into an amazing season of your life. But what's the difference? It's going to be, how are you using that time? And how are you producing the results? And what are you doing that's going to bring you there? Because I guarantee you this, you sink in like 300 hours into World of Warcraft, you will not care about that in 40 years. I guarantee you on your deathbed, you're not going to be like, man, I'm so glad that I played Fallout 4 through 5 times and I got 100% completion. I'm so happy that I got all of those platinum trophies. You will never say that. You're going to look back on your life and say, what was I doing? Like, really think about it. And I'm not trying to guilt you or anything, but I've literally pulled up my game screen from like an Elder Scrolls game and been like, 120 hours? Man, what if I just took half of that and sunk that into my art? How much better would I be? What pieces might I have made that were like really impressive? And what I realized when I was in my younger adulthood was this. We spend so much time doing things that don't fulfill us, doing things that distract us, doing things that will never take us to where you want to go. And if you're like, well, Sean, I'm in these circumstances and I'm just stuck in this place or I'm stuck in this mental space, I want to help you out by telling you this, because I wish somebody told me this earlier. You are in that place because of what you are doing with it. You are stuck in that place because of what you are doing or you aren't doing. And I say that with love to you, my friend, so that you can figure out how to not be a victim of those circumstances, but how to be victorious over them. Which one do you want to be? Now, another major regret that I know you're gonna have is if you don't hit that like and subscribe button, y'all, because I'm here to like and support you and to give you advice so that you can be better and you can do better with your art. And if you could throw me back some love, I sure would appreciate it, especially because I'm about to drop this bomb on you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about why a lot of artists are just like wild pandas. So, in case you don't know anything about these creatures, let me tell you, they're generally quite scattered, they're few and far between, they're generally living a quite isolated life, and they actually don't really know how to behave as soon as they interact with one another. Like, that's why the panda population is not growing too much, because they really literally don't know how to behave around each other. And this is when I realized that being an artist is sort of also like being an endangered species. Like, it's a pretty lonely endeavor when you really sit down and think about it. Because what are you doing? You're inside, you're away from other people, you're generally not in a space that has any type of nature involved in it, you're generally not in a social setting, especially like once you're outside of school and you're done with all that, or you're not in a job space that involves art, you're generally just really isolating yourself, and you're doing it voluntarily. And that kind of brings into this regret of trying to be an artistic hermit. Like, you locking yourself in your art cave sounds like a really wonderful solution for some people. And I used to be the same way. Like, I really used to take pride in being a lone wolf. And first off, I just want to let you know that you should be okay with being by yourself, because there's this famous quote that goes something like this: all of man's problems stem from his inability to be alone with his thoughts in a room by himself. And the first time I heard that, like, that really hit me. And I agree with that. However, though, you need socialization. It is not just something that's nice, it's something that's literally built into the fabric of your being. And as an artist, your purpose in life is to connect with other people and to use your art as a vehicle for doing this. And if you're not trying to build those bonds and trying to be sociable, it's not going to do well for you. By being exposed to other types of people and developing relationships, it's going to deepen the relationship with yourself and your artwork. Sometimes even maybe some of you, and tell me if this is you down below, that perhaps you've been really hurt by other people and you've been afraid. I've been there too, friend. Like, listen, I literally felt like a turtle for a large part of my childhood, and whenever I got scared, I would like go into my shell. And the way that I started to bring myself out of that was I would force myself to go into social situations, even when I felt uncomfortable. And I would talk to people and I would ask them questions. And I discovered this, that developing social bonds is nothing about what you say about yourself, because people don't care about you, real talk. They want you to ask questions about them. So what I learned to do was to just ask people questions. And this is also when, like, I started to talk to girls, and that's when eventually I met my wife and everything. And I've never regretted doing that. So one of the things I want to ask you is, how are you going to start to be a little bit more sociable? Can you join some groups? Can you join some local draw communities? Can you join some Facebook groups? Digitally too would be great. Like, can you join Discord servers? And hey, if you want to join the best Discord server, go ahead and join mine. It's down right below in the description there. Welcome to the art community once you get up in there, and enjoy everything we do, because it's a great booming little place. And I'd love for you to be a part of it if you haven't found your home, because I made one for you. But overall, you need to think about how you being an artistic hermit is also a way of not from you shutting off other people, but also shutting off a portion of your humanity. Have you ever thought about that? Now, this next regret involves how I've seen so many artists willingly drown their potential rather than use it for their benefit. And this entails this fact is that life is very uncertain. We never know what is going to happen. Unusually, whenever we hit any type of snag, one thing that we immediately seek to do when we don't have order is we seek control. So this regret is all about, why are we treating art like it is an impossible task? Why are we treating it like it's so unsafe? Why are we treating art like it is something that you absolutely cannot attain? Like it's something that's just so mystical and it's so special and it's so impossible that it's absolutely not gonna happen for you, or it's like just the distant horizon, and no matter how hard you run, you're never gonna catch it. And what I'm talking about is the regret of you not taking a chance on yourself. That's the bottom line here, is that there are so many artists that are so afraid just to invest into themselves, just to be an artist, just to start to move towards it. And it doesn't matter what version of this you want to be. You want to be a great hobbyist, you want to be a part-time artist, you want to be a full-time artist, okay? Every single one of those is amazing. And if you're like, well, Sean, I'm afraid I'm not going to make any money. Guess what, friend? There's loads of unemployed doctors and lawyers. And there are loads of circumstances that are going to come your way that inevitably are going to form some type of blockade or barricade to what you want to do, friend. But sinking yourself into this fear will lead most certainly to imposter syndrome, to shiny object syndrome, and you focusing on fool's errands that are not going to move the needle because you're just too afraid to invest into yourself and to commit to yourself, friend. Like, for example, tell me if this is you down below. Do you ever do excessive work and excessive prep before you actually do anything artistic? Like, do you ever just like spend hours collecting references and then you read all about how to do better and then you're like, oh, I should draw, but no, I'm gonna watch like a whole bunch of YouTube tutorials first. Y'all, that's just stalling. But here's what I'm gonna let you know, and it's this. Fear will kill you more than failure ever will. And it's inevitable that if you're not facing failures, you're not trying hard enough, you're not executing, and you're not taking the proper steps, and you're not taking better actions towards bettering yourself. And then now you might be like, well, Sean, I'm just not a confident person. Listen, I get you. How do you crush that though? Action will always crush doubt 100% of the time. If you just take some form of action, even if it's not the right one, after you do that enough times, you just become numb, you just become calloused, my friend. So for you, I want you to develop some real heavy calluses on those artistic hands. Now this one is really gonna get a lot of people, especially once they get into their older age, and especially, unfortunately, once it's too late. You get lots of exposure, you just get everybody in the world is seeing all your stuff. One of the worst investments that I see so many people doing, and I think that we're starting to see artists at the end of their artistic cycle, and a lot of new artists at the beginning of their artistic cycle similarly experience, is that they are over-investing into the bank of exposure. And let me just tell you, friend, in case you didn't know this, but the exposure dollar bank is totally bankrupt. And what this has done ever since we started to shift our focus from working on ourselves into working on how to get more people to like us and to affirm us, what we're essentially now turned into is a lot of herds of artists being just let off a cliff and having no problem with it. And the strangest curiosity to me is like, why are we conflating popularity with proficiency? That's exactly why you're not going to actually end up with that result, my friend. And here's why, is because you're not actually trying to have a victory. What you're trying to have is validation. And I just want to let you know that having 100,000 people follow you and fall all over you is not going to fill the void that you feel in yourself. It's not going to make your artwork better. It's not going to make you want to work harder. It's not going to necessarily produce the effect. There are so many people who are chasing this dream of being super popular online, but literally it's not doing anything for them. Another really pivotal question I have for you is this: can you handle popularity? Do you know what that's like? Like, I'll just give you an example. So the #1 performing video on my channel is this video on AI art and how it's been dying for over the last 2 years. And while I'm thrilled by that progress, and yeah, it did bring me some extra money, I just want to let you know that that also caused me like a little bit more than I was bargaining for. Like the AI bros came out in full force. What you don't know is that I've probably deleted at least 200 comments, if not more, from just nasty people and AI bros. And because of that, I'm not ashamed to say I'm gonna delete those comments. There are a lot of people though too who would not be able to handle that. It would cause them extreme mental duress. It would cause them emotional turmoil. Just because I exceeded my expectations on that and I did experience like some level of popularity from that, it didn't do anything different. Like I didn't wake up the next morning and I'm just like, I am the best version of myself. And I'm still the same. And you will be too, friend. So if you want popularity, that's not gonna bring it to you, friend. You need to have a greater purpose and a greater mission. Otherwise, you're just trying to have somebody else validate you so that you want to succeed. But my friend, nobody else can do that but you. Do you know that? Moving on. How would you like to have a big slice of emptiness pie? Just that big gaping hole right here. And what I'm talking about is, what would you imagine your life is like without art? Because inevitably, if you're an artist, you've thought about it before, haven't you, friend? You've considered, what would my life be like if I just gave this up tomorrow? What would I do with myself, and what could I be? And this entails what maybe you've thought about doing for another career, especially if you're thinking about this being a job for you someday. Then you're gonna think about, well, you know, I could do this art thing or I could do that. And look, let me just validate one thing. There's definitely, starting out, easier ways to make money. But what force is money gonna have in your life once you get into that, once you're sunk into that? And what I see so many artists do is they will willingly give up all of their artistic pursuits. And they'll do it because they perceive it as the safe route, because it's the sure route, because it's going to be what's going to bring them a more lucrative future. All of that is very important, friend. But counterpoint, what's life gonna be like when you did that and you sacrificed yourself? You sacrificed something so meaningful. And I just wanna ask, what does that feel like to you? Like, what is your emotional response just to me proposing that idea to you? And even look, if you're an artist and you're only in this for the money, yeah, there's way easier things that you can do for it. But money is an awesome motivator. Like, it definitely has motivated me at times to want to work harder or want to do better. But at the same time, when I really think about it, that really just comes down to what I want and what potential that I see for my art. It's not just the potential for money. It's always just been, what's my potential? What's my greater commitment to myself that I'm able to unlock and I'm able to achieve? And if you sort of framed it like that for yourself, what would that be like for you, my friend? You can definitely follow the golden goose all through your life. But is that really gonna bring you happiness on your deathbed? Are you gonna be like, man, I wish I made more money? Or are you gonna be like, I wish that I took a little bit more time for myself? I think you know which one it is. Now let me ask you, are you an artistic polygamist? Are you so interested in just taking your creativity and multiplying it rather than dividing it? Are you somebody that is just so full of enthusiasm for every little thing that comes your way, and you're like, I got this great comic idea, let me work on that. Oh, I got this great character idea, let me work on that. Oh, I got this great game idea, let me work on that. Oh man, what's that up over there? Oh God, is that a new program? Let me go ahead and try that. Is that a new medium? Let me go ahead and try that. Ooh, knitting, I've never tried that. Let me try that. Do you just feel like you are just consumed by all these great ideas and no time to actually sink into them? Well, my friend, this one's for you, but the next regret of dying artists is not having one memorable thing. All too often, we think that we have to diversify everything that we're doing way too much, and especially way too early before we've even established ourselves as artists. We think that we have to be doing 20 different things. And basically what we hope is that if we lose 20 arrows, that somehow every single one of those is gonna hit. When realistically, you're probably missing every single one of those targets. So this kind of breeds what's called creative confusion. And this is when you are just thinning yourself too much and you are just trying to do something and a little bit of everything. And what is that inevitably gonna bring you? It's a whole lot of lackluster product. And I want you just to consider it like this, okay? Do you want to be, and do you want the results of your efforts to be a mile wide and an inch deep, or do you want it to be an inch wide and a mile deep, because this is where specialization comes into play. And usually this is where people buck back sometimes when I suggest this, and they're like, but Sean, I've got all these interests. Awesome, great. But think of it like this. Where is your priority list? Because here's just a fact, y'all. You don't have time in life to do absolutely everything to the exact way that you want to do it. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna force you into a creative torture chamber where you're just gonna feel like you are just inevitably gonna be this victim of your creative impulses. Not bad to have those ideas. It's very important for you and necessary for you to sit there and sift through all those and be like, this is what I'm gonna focus on. So how about this? Have your number one, maybe a number two up on there too, perhaps, but have one thing that you're working on. You don't even have to dedicate your whole life to it, but dedicate yourself to it. How long should you do that? I recommend you do it for at least 3 to 6 months. Focus on that comic, focus on those characters, focus on that game you want to make, focus on anything that you want to do. But if you're not focused on it for 3 to 6 months, you have no metric for gauging your success. You have no metric for gauging what your potential is. So are you somebody that goes like week to week, day to day, a couple days at a time, and then you're just like, oh man, this isn't working for me? Yeah, you're right, it's not working for you, because have you ever thought maybe you're not working for it? And just to exemplify this philosophy, let me ask you this. Your favorite artists, what do they do? Because I bet that they do one great thing, and they're known for one great thing and one great style really well. That's not to say you can't have fun with your other things in your own time, but like focus on one thing, because here is inevitability, my friend. Your specialization will guarantee you greater success and greater opportunities than people that are just spread too thin. Have you ever considered that? All right, real hard question for you. Are you a weirdo? Are you atypical? Are you thinking to yourself that you're just a little strange right there? Do you want people, on the other hand, to just think that you're just a paragon of humanity? Do you want people to really think that you are just average, that you're normal? Oh, my friend, I need to let you know this. You're not normal. And that's okay. And one of the curiosity about being an artist is that we generally get associated with being weird and being abnormal. So what if you just embrace that? What if you stop caring about what other people think about you? What if you invested all of that mental energy and all of those social, emotional, and mental resources into yourself, into developing what you want to do, friend? You should learn to be okay with embracing yourself and not trying to fit into the construct of what people socially expect of you to be. Because at the end of the day, do you want to be yourself, or do you want to be someone's mannequin of you? It's your choice, but one of them is definitely going to make you regret it. Now let me tell you why listening to the opinions of non-artists almost completely stomped out all of my artistic ambitions. And if I had, I would never be where I am today. And it all starts with the fact that everybody in my family didn't understand why I wanted to be an artist and why this seemed to be just something childish. You ever feel like people look down on artists and they feel like, oh, this is just something that's like kind of kiddish, almost like it's just like another phase of your life, like, oh, they're just gonna grow out of that one. As I started to grow with it, they started to tell me about, man, you'll never get a job. It's gonna be so hard, Sean, you're gonna struggle. And then literally my family tried to push me into doing other things like, oh, you should join this business, or like, hey, what if you got an apprenticeship doing this? And it just felt like everything that they were telling me was just trying to dissuade me from what I really love to do. And what I see a lot of artists regret by the time that they come to their end is the fact that they didn't invest into that sooner, and that they valued the opinions of people that weren't artists over their inner voice. And why? Because it's so hard to challenge the opinions of those that we love. And listen, oftentimes it's gonna come from a loving place, but to be honest, it's coming from a fearful place too. So why does that happen? If you're around a lot of non-artists and you're around people that are not ambitious, the light of your ambition shines light on their demons, and people don't like to feel bad about how they did not fulfill their own ambitions, because I bet that they had some failed ambitions of their own. You ever consider that? The other thing is that art seems like this nebulous and uncertain endeavor, but everything is uncertain. There's no certainties in life. Like, y'all remember what happened with COVID and like 20 million people lost their jobs over a weekend? Case in point. But also, it's about challenging societal expectations. Like, this is valuable, this is not. This career is great for you, this is not. Oh, you're a male? You should go into this field. Oh, you're a female? You should go into this field. A weird curiosity that I notice nowadays too is that more and more male students are being completely discouraged from going into the arts. And I've even had people tell me that they think that it's only for homosexual males who should be going into that. And that's crazy. I've had my students think that I'm gay just because I'm a very excitable, well-dressed art teacher. And I just find that extremely offensive. Like, why did anybody ever associate any gender norm with art making? And that's so messed up. Like, there are thousands of amazing male and female artists all throughout history, but somehow we've kind of boxed it into like, oh, that's masculine, or oh, that's feminine, and that's messed up. So with that, I just want to ask you, friend, do you want to listen to the opinions of people that aren't living the life that you are, or do you want to show them why they're going to be wrong by you dedicating yourself to the life that you want to live? Because at the end of your life, you're either going to love it or regret it. Oh boy, this next one's going to sting for some of you, but let me ask you this. What happens when you get feedback? How are you responding to that? So I see this all the time with my students, okay? Every single day as an art teacher, I'm given hundreds of pieces of advice. And what I seem to notice about students that do extremely well and I see big growth in them versus the ones that don't is literally how they're responding to feedback. And oftentimes I'll go around and I'll say the same thing to the same people all the time. And even in my one-on-one mentorship, I'll say the same thing to the same people week after week when we have our meetings. And they won't do it. And I've noticed how many artists are just really stubborn in what they're doing. Sometimes they'll even challenge me back and be like, well, I like it like that. Well, I just want to challenge you with this then. Then I guess that you like how mediocre that you feel. Well, I guess that you like feeling the way that you do. I guess that you like feeling peaked right now, don't you? And what I've seen people do from this is that they throw away their potential for their ego. And sometimes those artists who are extremely stubborn, who don't seem to want to take any advice, what do? Then they eventually implement it, and then this always happens. And they'll be like, Sean, I didn't want to do that, but I'm so happy that I did. You were right. One of the things that I would wish more artists would do is just be more open to feedback and critique and applications. Because just to be honest, if you're not feeling good about your art right now, you're probably gonna regret not taking some steps differently than what you're currently doing. And literally what you're just trying to do and that you don't know that you're currently afflicted by is you're paralyzed by fear, okay? You are just currently entrenched in what you're doing, not because you actually feel comfortable, but because you're avoiding discomfort. But my friend, I want to let you know this, that through fear, that's the way. Through fear, that's going to unlock your highest potential. So don't make moves away from fear, live in fear more. What if you did that? Another big regret of people that I see all the time is that they just feel like they have a dark passenger. And specifically, what I'm saying with this is their dark passenger is how they feel, and it's their emotional state. And is this you, friend? Do you feel like, oh man, well, I just can't get through this. I can't get past this. Like right now, I'm really struggling with something. Well, my friend, I want to help you with how to get better mental health and how you can use your art in order to do this. So to do that, go ahead and check out this video right here. I'm going to tell you so many things you've never heard before. Hey, if this helped you, make sure you share it with somebody, and thanks for watching.